All right. Good morning, good afternoon, power hitters, solar warrior tribe. Today is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. My name is Jarrett McAllister, your mentor and co-host, alongside my brothers in arms, Jonathan Brunasso, Tom Cotter. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Fine and dandy.
I'm doing awesome. Got some busy weeks ahead with the net metering in California, but I think we're ready, kicking butt, taking names, taking orders. Let's do it.
I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it's been extremely busy these past couple weeks, and it's only going to get busier. So yeah, let's jump right into it because we do have a fantastic training for you guys, and it's kind of an extension of last week's training. So for everyone that was here last week, that was awesome, and we're just going to keep it going. Real quick, let's jump into success stories. We're just going to do a couple because we do have a packed training today. So go ahead, we'll do 2 or 3. Raise your hand if you have a success story you'd like to share. And while you guys are raising your hands, I'll just quickly go over. I had a bunch of wins, bunch of success. First of all, shout out to Cameron, Ray, Kyle, Serena, all joining the Powur platform. Cameron's been selling solar solo or a couple different EPCs, wanting to check out Powur, so he joined last week. And then Ray, Kyle, and Serena have a solar team, about 50 out in New Hampshire, so they're going to be help pioneering that market. Sold 5 deals over the last week, which was awesome, and went snowboarding 4 out of the 6 days, which has been incredible, all because of this platform, and just paid off my 37-foot travel trailer full in cash because we've just been absolutely crushing it. So all awesome. Thanks to the Powur platform.
Well, good. Since there's no hands raised, I'm gonna real quickly, and feel free to type in success stories in the chat or raise your hand, but I'm just gonna show the leaderboard for this month here on our dashboard, which is amazing as always. So Garrett Mendelson is just a beast, and he's going to be talking at the virtual convention. He has 16 deals in the month of February, taking orders. And Tom or Jarrett, shout out any other names I don't recognize. Paul Leone here, as always, 10 personal deals. Jordan Shaw, 10 personal deals on the team. Julian Todd Borden in San Diego, 10 deals. I have 9 deals personal here as well. And then we got referrals or recruits. Larry McKinney.
Chris always crushing it with the recruits.
Chris Brunasso crushing it. Probably a few other teammates here. And then the mentors.
Is that Jeff Hugh, #1 mentor in the company right now? Dude, my boy Jeff.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff, crushing it. 11 deals. He's like 1.5 years into Powur, new to solar. He closed 5 deals in 1 day. He's doing 75 hard right now with Cynthia, Luis Perez, and a whole bunch of people, not drinking, working out twice a day. He's in his team networking group, which is like BNI, just crushing it. So big shout out to Jeff and Luis Perez on his tail at 10. Cynthia, props to you, birthday girl, at 9 deals there. Christopher in Las Vegas. JC Rangel, of course. I think this might be David Steele. And Janice Vaughn on the team as well. So tons and tons of y'all being top mentors, top sellers. Big shout out to everyone there.
Incredible. Well, let's just move along. Tom, did you come up with this quote, or did you have AI write this one for you?
This was ChatGPT that wrote what's on the screen right now. For $100, I'll give you the recipe for the prompt that you can give it. Now, I don't know how many of you have read anything from Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek, 4-Hour Body, Tools of Titans. 4-Hour Workweek is a really, really great and instrumental book for me in my professional career. But I've got a quote from him that is specifically for those of you who came to Powur with solar experience previously, especially in a redline model, and you came over to the cost of goods model with Powur. So Tim Ferriss said, don't follow a model that doesn't work. If the recipe sucks, it doesn't matter how good of a cook you are. So I just wanted to remind you, sometimes no matter where we're at, we have our head down And just to give you a little perspective that this is a completely different animal with power, and there's a lot of potential here. So so he said something else here. What was that other quote? I lost that other quote that I wanted to say that he said, but basically, don't wait until tomorrow. You can take tomorrow to the grave. So do today what you need to do to take action in your business to build your future and build some freedom on the Powur platform. Back to you guys.
Right on. Hey, Tom, can I just say, you mentioned Tim Ferriss. He's one of my idols.
Yes.
Yeah.
In business coaching, lifestyle. One of my best friends, Don, who actually turned me on to Powur, gifted me the 4-hour work week back in 2010 and absolutely changed my world, changed my life. I dreamt to become a digital nomad with time freedom and, traveled to Costa Rica with digital nomads. And it was so inspiring. And then one of highlights is I met him at a tea house when he was doing the release for the 4-hour chef. And I got a signed copy of my original 4-hour workweek book. And on the back of it, it says, Jarrett, play often, Tim. And so that's, I just wanted to share that, man. Tim Ferriss is a rock star.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Nice stuff. Love Tim Ferriss. And he does a random show as well on YouTube with his one of his colleagues, his buddies. I forget the dude's name right now, but good content with them. Thank you, Jarrett and Tom. I'll do 2 quick updates and we'll get to today's training. As a friendly reminder, as always, we have so many trainings here. Take a screenshot of this, watch the recording, write these down later. But every Monday, JC has a training. Today, we're talking about new construction, ADUs, 2 meters, NEMA. Melissa has enterprise training. We got Women of Power, Cynthia Marisi Sella every Thursday doing a training in Powur Calendar. You could find that. If you're newer here, Powur onboarding and building with Bobby is canceled on Friday. And so is the market expansion development meetings on Friday because we have an epic 2-day virtual convention on March 3rd and 4th. Make sure to register. If someone could drop the link into the chat, please register today. I think it might be the last day. Make sure to get registered for that. And as always, there's so much more trainings, guys. Enphase, Solar Edge, office hours, LinkedIn, market meetings, development meetings in your local market. Please attend those and meet the ops manager, meet the PM tier 3s, and learn from the local leaders in those specific markets. They're great. And of course, we have a solar convention coming up in Utah. I missed one though. This Thursday night, if you go to Powur Calendar, we are going to have a business presentation for guests on stage, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. with Charles and Jonathan Budd. So it's going to be the eve before the 2-day virtual convention, which you can find here as well, 8 to 5. There's going to be breaks and lunch breaks, and Jeremy Lee Minor is speaking. We have panels. So much education, and trust me, there's some lightning strikes. There's some announcements. I know one of them. I can't tell you. It's been in beta mode. It's going to change a lot of the sales here at Powur, but there are some epic announcements, guys. So you do not want to miss 2 days jam-packed of development. Sometimes we get too caught up working in our business. Take 2 days out and work on your business and work on yourself. So that's going to be great this Friday and Saturday. Some of us are staying in Airbnbs near headquarters. Can't wait to see you all there. And Solar Con in Utah, April 20th to 22nd. Many of us are going. Powur is a major sponsor. I know Jarrett, Owen, Tom, Melissa Dawson, Cynthia, a lot of us, Louis Perez and all, my brother going. So I do have a 40% off code till March 10th. I'm not making anything off of this, but if you want the 40% off till March 10th, Solar Realtor is a promo code that those guys gave me. And of course, NEM 3.0 in California. It's coming. I'm telling people to sign deals by March 10th, March 15th, just make a deadline. If there's revisions to the interconnection application, There's an extension to the deadline. Attend your local NorCal or SoCal market expansion meeting. We're going to be covering those this week and the coming weeks in detail. I'm going to be having the interconnections team on in detail describing what's going to take place when you sign a deal and how to get them locked in a NEM 2.0. In the meantime, though, please go into knowledge base and read the NEM toolkit for more information. There's scripts, there's images, and so much more. All right, so let's jump into today's training. I'll cover a few things, but I definitely want to hear from Tom, Jarrett, even Cynthia. If there's a few tier 3s on here that have done 50, 100 deals with Powur and you've done these things, then, you know, type it into the chat. Feel free to raise your hand as well. But today's training is going to be focused on new construction or new builds, as well as 2 meters on a property and ADUs, and also what is NEMA, N-E-M-A. It's called Net Energy Metering Aggregate. So we're going to cover those topics and more today, and then we'll hang out and do some open office hours and Q&A. So just a brief overview here, and we can dig into some questions on new construction and new builds. There is a document I actually need to get for y'all, and it'll outline some of the things that you need to get if you're going to do new construction and new builds. I've actually asked that Powur create a knowledge base article for everyone, and Daniel Housen in charge of training is going to help do that. So we're going to have knowledge base articles supporting new construction and new builds. But as I get that document for you, we also need the site plan and structural plans. And if possible, definitely the electrical information before the design team, Powur design team, can proceed with the design. So I'll show you an example. I have a project here. This gentleman's building 2 homes on one property, and this is one of the homes. So it outlines the roof measurements, the direction that it's facing, and you really want to get these detailed plans. And often there's many of these. There's different types of these. So if I look at another one that I did, let me just pull it up for y'all.
No wonder you haven't gotten to my emails.
Yeah, you don't even want to know. I don't know if I have it, but yeah, you have to get the new construction builds from their architect, from their designer. The more, the better. That outlines the roof measurements, and again, the direction it's facing, and also, if possible, any electrical work as well. And if you notice right here on those design plans, it even specifies the, let me mute Tony out right quick. It also specifies the type of roofing that they're going to be using. So in this particular home, they're using flat, lightweight tile. One of the things you want to be mindful of is what type of roofing is going to be going on there. If it's standard weight tile or lightweight tile or clay tile, you want to work with the builder or the roofer. Ideally, you could put composition shingle in the area where the solar is going. So this is something you have to be definitely aware of, and you have to get the design plans. Our process for new construction has changed. We're going to provide a preliminary roof layout and electrical diagram that can be used by the contractor to continue their plans. In California, sometimes the contractors need this to finish their Title 24 energy requirements, or they need it to actually, they're at a halt with the city because solar is legally required on new construction now. So that is something the design team can do. You want to upload as many of these plans and electrical plans. Here's another angle from the architect as possible. And that's going to be very helpful as well. And
Jonathan,
once-
I have a full plan set if you need one.
Well, yeah, I had one too. But I think I pulled up in a sec, or I can let you share. But once you provide all that information to Powur, then they can go ahead and go in and provide us an mock-up or a plan set that can be used for permits like we're seeing right here. So let me just read off these few more things here. Too many things change in new construction, and it can take forever, guys. So you need to set the expectation that prices may change. If they're doing loan, which is not recommended, we only can lock in for 6 months. Interest rates have been changing left and right. So you have to set those expectations. Another thing to note is the plans that you send mention the use of lightweight concrete tile for the roof. That's what I just mentioned. It's not eligible for Powur, so we would need composition shingle inlay under the solar array. So you want to put shingles there since it was lightweight. See new construction document. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up that new construction document for you guys.
And
So
Ashley posted that in the chat too.
Oh, awesome. Look at her. She's an all-star. Thanks, Ashley. I have it in Google Drive as well. And again, this will be put into a knowledge base article fairly soon. But just a whole bunch of steps and recommendations. Letting the roofer know if the proposed location of solar, keeping it free of plumbing, attic vents, things like that. Also, you have to keep in mind conduit. Okay, you want to have conduit from the roof where the solar's going all the way down to the approximate location of the electrical panel. If the inverter can go in the garage and that's where they want it, then you have to have conduit go down there. So ideally, the contractor is running conduit. Now, if you're doing end phase, the individual inverters on the roof is converting the energy from DC to AC. Running AC, alternate current, is easier in conduit. You can use a flex conduit to run it down to the combiner box. Solar Edge is DC power, and DC power has to make its way all the way down to the inverter on the side of the house. So that you would not be able to use flex conduit. You have to use like a metal conduit for most AHJ requirements. So my recommendation is end phase. So you can use a flex conduit. But that's another thing you want to bring up, because we don't really want our installers going out middle of construction, getting in the weeds with their guys, trying to run some conduit. Ideally, the contractor is doing it. More information here. Please bookmark this, save that document in the chat. The Google Drive link is in the team Google Drive folder where we have a lot of different things. And I'll let you all read this document as well.
I would just add, in new construction, if you are new or newer to solar, don't get overwhelmed by new construction. It's not as common as retrofits. And in our model, you can always choose a tier 3 partner that has experience in new construction to kind of fast track your learning and make sure that everything's being covered.
Yeah, and often people say, like in California, it's legally required, but working with a tier 3 will help you design the size of the system. A good tier 3 will know, is there a swimming pool? Is there an EV charger? What's the square footage? You know, how many HVAC condensers are there? In that market, do they run AC a ton? We're seeing more heat pumps and tankless water systems. We're seeing people move away from gas, so more electric. So estimating the size of the solar needed is something that a good tier 3 can do really well. Also, if you're working with the contractor, you know, oftentimes the contractor in California will just put it on to meet the legal requirement. And those guys don't mind if it's just 9 panels or 11 panels. They just want to meet the legal requirement, meet the Title 24 requirement. And so often that's a cash system. It's a little bit smaller. and they don't really care as much to do like a 30 panel system. They just want to meet the legal requirements. And out of curiosity, if anyone knows what the legal requirement is, I've heard alternating things for Title 24 in California. If it's a percentage of the square footing of the roof.
It's a calculation based on the climate zone and the square footage in the house that's being heated and cooled.
Gotcha. Yeah, and there are
2
oftentimes
watts.
architects outsource to a Title 24 firm that calculates that requirement.
Oh, minimum.
I just be aware of this, you guys. I mean, if you're going to be doing it, you know, Powur's minimum is still 8 panels. Right. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
at the very least, and at 8 panels, and, you know, we're typically running 400-watt panels. That should suffice for bare minimums every single time. But why, if you're going to do it right. Right. I mean, especially right now, they have one opportunity to size this system properly. You know, really take your best stab at how much they're going to need and build the system properly.
Yeah, Tony, did you have a question on this topic?
Yeah, I did. I have somebody they're adding on a little bit in the back and the roof. It's kind of changing, so I'm having a hard time trying to get like a proposal to try to get them some kind of an estimate of what they need and produce, and what's the best way to do that. I have all the PDF uploaded, and I've requested an email. You know, obviously Solo, it's not working through Solo to get it, but
Sometimes a trick on that is to just literally request panels on the ground. Like, please put 10 panels south facing 20-degree tilt on the ground, right? Like, if you know the plans, there's some west roof and east roof, and you're having trouble getting them to design it perfectly. Like, in my recommendation, I've done this before, is literally just ask them, please put 12 panels west, 8 panels east on the ground. Like, you could even upload an image and put a red line box where you want them, and then upload that, put the detailed notes, and that's just one way around it.
okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I ended up doing. I just told Solo just to put them where the roof would be on the ground behind there, and it's still east-west. So I was just wondering if that's the best way. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I will share, and your PM you can work with the PM more on this to get with the design department, I guess, after it's sold. But in California, Harry Smith is the new designer. So he's helping do designs for California. And that might actually be a good future training to hear from the internal design team at Powur. But yeah, Tony, you could see if his email is helpful as well. All right. So just on the new construction, new builds, and I have worked with a contractor that was building 2 or 3 homes, and this method works well. We often get a common question like, oh, I know a builder building 50 homes or 100 homes, you know, can Powur do that? There's a lot that goes into that question. You know, are they doing cash? Is it for the contractor or the new home builder? Are they building those homes in phases or stages? You know, are they comping out those locations, running the conduit? So that's definitely going to be case by case. If there is a serious inquiry, definitely want to work with leadership, attend the local market expansion meeting, let the OM know and the local leadership know, and work with them to get that done would be my advice. And I was trying to find that full plan set as well. I don't know if you had an example.
I do have a full plan set if you need one. Here, you know what, rather than I'll just message it to you really quick.
While you're doing that, Tony, one of the things that I've done is taken the roof plan from the plan set and take a screenshot of that and upload it to opensolar.com, which is free. and you can scale that image. Like if you know that the ridge line of the roof is 20 feet, you can scale that so that it's 20 feet, and then you're getting kind of close on scale. And then you can, this is especially helpful if you do this if there's multiple roof faces and you're not sure about, what will fit where. So you can do a rough design in Open Solar and then tell Solo, how many panels to put on each roof face, the pitch, the shade, and so on.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful. Yeah, I have Open Solar. I just never uploaded anything in there. So thanks, Tom.
You can even take that image from Open Solar and tell Solo to use it in your proposal.
Yeah, done it many times. After 3 proposals, that's my go-to. I won't go past that one. Refuse.
And we might be getting a new design tool imminently, but stay tuned for more info on that.
Brunasso, did you get what I sent you in the chat?
Yeah, and I did find one that I did. So
Okay.
like this is a 62-page, extremely detailed plan set, guys. Like this is what you want to get from the architect. You want to get the roof diagram. You want to get the full plan set here.
Would this be a solar crib? It looks pretty nice.
Yeah, how'd you know that? That's a solar crib. And if there's any more questions on new construction, guys, feel free to raise your hand or type it in the chat. And for some reason there we go. Nice 22-page documents here for this new build. Yeah, perfect. Where is this one, Jarrett?
It's out in Roseville, which I was like, oh no, Roseville Electric. He's like, nope, we're in county. So it's going to be PG&E, thank God, which is great. But yeah, we're going to be doing a 10 kilowatt system for this home.
Very good. Cool.
And then to your point, I was looking at the roofing material and it said clay tile on it. So I spoke with him and I said, hey, this is how it works with clay tile. Since you haven't, constructed it yet, if you are doing clay tile, you're going to want to lay down a composition shingle roof underneath where we're going to be installing the solar. Then he said, it should not be clay tile. This should be concrete tile. I need to talk to my builder, my architect. So he's going back to them to make sure that it's not going to be clay tile, because otherwise, yeah, they're going to be having to install another roof underneath.
Well, I see concrete.
Yeah, it was in the description up at the top on the right hand
okay.
side.
Yeah, a little mistake there.
Sure.
And when you look through these plans, everybody, the things that you're looking for are the same things that would impact your adders and the design in any proposal. Like Jonathan said, roof type and pitch, what direction that roof is facing, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, if there's a multiple array adder, if you're doing 3 or more arrays, definitely want that.
Yeah, one of the things is that was a little complication with that job is that he wanted to finance it. So we ran financing, but the problem is he doesn't have an official address or title. He just has his name onto the deed to the actual land itself. Now he's not going to get an address, official address with his name on it until the permits have been submitted. But it's the chicken before the egg, right? He can't submit the permits unless we have the solar going. So we are then switching over to a cash deal to get the project moving forward so we can submit the plans. And then once he does have an official address with his name on title, we could submit that to Sunlight and satisfy their underwriting qualifications and move over to financing that he already qualified for. But the caveat is project better be done within 6 months, because that's how long we have to get the project completed. And with new construction, obviously that can, it could take that long, if
Right.
not longer.
Ideally, you really want to push the contractor or the homeowner to go cash or to wrap it into their new building loan that they're getting. I really do not recommend messing with the loan on new builds if you can avoid it, for sure. All right, so let's continue the conversation. Feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions on this. So let's move into 2 meters and ADUs, and also NEMA, or net energy metering aggregate. And guys, this is a little of an advanced topic. So if you're new to power or solar, or, you know, this is very advanced. You can work with tier 3s to help you out. But let me just kind of lay the reason why that we're covering this. In California, you legally have to have solar when you're building a detached ADU. So anyone building a detached ADU, you have to have some solar on the property. Now, you know, Jarrett, we just talked about this, but often you can just put solar on the main house. It doesn't technically have to physically be on the ADU. Most cities and jurisdictions in California, that will satisfy the legal requirement for going solar. So I've done that in multiple occasions. Sales tip, I actually have a contractor, Joey with Gold Coast Solutions, used to be my ambassador. He's since upgraded to consultant. He builds the most ADUs in Claremont and Pomona and Diamond Bar. So we get slam dunk deals left and right, because legally they have to have solar. And on 2 to 3 of those projects where he built an ADU, we actually put the solar, or the majority of the solar, on the main house. So that's important to say. And a lot of people are building ADUs now. I think we're going to see that become more of the norm, even across the country, as property rates continue to stay high and people can't afford. I don't know how they afford to stay in California personally, but so ADUs are very important. Work with contractors, guys, that build ADUs, especially in California. Now, often, that's why I said here, what property is the solar going on? So it could go on the main house or the back house. Now, when it comes to building an ADU, or some homes have 2 meters, the actual physical circular meter placed on the property by the utility, that's technically their property. And if you're building an ADU, you could reach out to the utility and you could try to get a second meter. I don't recommend that. If the energy can just come from the main house, and all feed from 1 meter, personally, I just think that's easier. So you want to know if they're building an ADU, or you want to just be aware, like on some homes up north, you know, they may have a farm or a big warehouse. It could be 2 meters. So it's very important to know. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and a reason why somebody would want to add a second meter is because maybe they're building the house in the back and it's going to be a rental, right? They're doing a separate unit. They want to know how much electricity that second unit is using, so they know how to bill the tenant accordingly, or just to be able to partition how the usage. I mean, that would be the main reason for doing that, I think.
Yeah, great point. You know, if there is 2 meters, like you said, to your point, someone building an actual back house, one of the ways to do it is to put solar on the back house, and it feeds that meter. And then you could put solar on the front house and it feeds that meter. So the easy way to do it when there's 2 meters is to do 2 separate solar systems. One of the issues we run into, though, is with the financing, the lender only sees the legal property address on title as the qualifying address. So if you're trying to run, you know, 701B or 702 and the main house is 701, you may run into an issue where the lender says, if you're trying to run 2 loans, the lender says, hey, we don't recognize 702 or 701B. Like, please upload a deed that shows that as the legal address on title. So just be aware of that. If you are doing 2 meters, then, and there's 2 addresses, you have to be aware of the lending to get that qualified. Pick one of the addresses, or you could do cash for the second one as well. It kind of gets a little case by case. on the 2 meters. But when there are 2 meters, to Jarrett's point, there is something called NEMA, net energy metering aggregation. Now, when 2 meters are both under the same customer's name and there's solar on one of the meters, NEMA allows the excess solar from one of the meters to overflow to the second meter. Okay, so again, if there's 2 properties, 2 meters on the property, and you only putting solar on one of them, but you want the excess solar to also offset the other meter if it's on the same account, that is called NEMA. So curious to know, Jarrett or Tom or Cynthia, if you guys have actually done NEMA with Edison or PG&E before, know someone that has.
I would defer to Bill Conley, who has lots of experience in this.
Yeah, I've done a fair amount of NEMA or NEMA projects, and 2 meters is theoretically pretty simple, but the generating meter is the meter that is connected, interconnected, and the second meter is considered called the benefiting meter, and it is given virtual credit. So that's all done through the billing process. There's no physical connection to the second meter. So keep that in mind if you're worried about, oh, how do I get it connected? Because you don't. So it's the generating meter gets all the solar credit and does the actual the back and forth happens on the gen meter, but the literal monthly accounting is done with either SCE or PG&E or SDG&E in the back end just through billing. So that's makes it simpler. Just got to be really clear about identifying the meter, which one is the generating meter. I just got done with, I think it's been a year, but one, I had just a 2 meter deal, but it got confused from the get. And remember Andy used to always say, the fortune is in the front end, ladies and gentlemen. And that's so true.
Nice, Bill. I learned something today. I actually have avoided NEMA my entire career personally.
I have too.
Listen, I will tell you that I did the first megawatt solar installation in Northern California, PG&E territory, for the NEMA deal, 26 meters on a I don't know, what was it? Kind of a food processing and grower. This guy was a farmer, had meters all over Tarnation. You can use that up here in the hill country or the valley. So then they were just all over. You just got to make sure they're adjacent or contiguous parcels. So if you had somebody that had 2 lots and they were next door to each other, you could even do an aggregation there of 2 separate, 2 different houses. So a lot of things that could happen, but it takes a little bit longer, and the process is a little arcane, like the utilities are. But just make sure you get it straight. I'll be happy to help anybody that needs that on that.
Right on, Bill. And then just to clarify, they have to be on the same account though, correct?
Yeah. Technically they have to be owned by the same
Person.
they have to be the same holder. It could be a separate account that the person has access to. It's their, if it's their account, they could do it, but what you can't have is separation of the property by anything other than a road or a stream or something.
You couldn't have the tenant's name on the back house meter and your name on the front house meter and still do aggregate. Is that right?
Probably not. No, it would be because they're going to assume that that's not the property. So the tenant would have or the owner would take over the account,
Right.
And work that out with the tenant. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's important to note, if there is a duplex, and I'll get to Adam's question, and there's a different name on the back house, then NEMA wouldn't really be a great situation. You would want 2 systems if you can do it in that unique situation. And thank you, Bill, as well. So the law in California he put in the chat, is using 2 watts per square foot of building size as solar minimum. So if you had a 3,000 square foot house times 2 watts, you would need a 6,000 watt system or 6 kW, 8 panel minimum requirement with power as well. Good to know. All right, so let's see, Adam, what happens if I'm working on a duplex with 2 meters?
And
they are getting
Jonathan,
two solar
just to
systems?
quickly interject, so I have a client this week in LA, and it's a triplex. One family lives in there. It's 2 separate meters. The back house feeds into the other meter. So I was going to do two solar systems, but it's 2 meters, but it's 3 houses. So I was wondering if there was excess, it could feed into the one, maybe if it was underproducing, if that was a possibility, because I'm just learning about this.
What utility?
Edison, I believe.
So you said there's 2 meters on a triplex. So likely 2 of the units feed 1 meter, 1 unit is another meter, and you said it's the same family,
Same
same
name.
name
Yep.
on both meters.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, so the situation is you could put solar that feeds 1 meter. It depends on the property, where the meters sit, where the main electrical panel sits, right? So you want to
Okay.
take that into consideration. If you were to do one solar system that feeds 1 meter, you could reach out to Edison and do this NEMA that we're referring to. So then, like Bill said, you'd have
Oh,
a
yeah.
generating meter and a benefiting meter. The other option would be to
Yeah.
design 2 separate solar systems, one that feeds each corresponding meter. So you'd want to size them appropriately.
Mhm.
There's going to be a little added cost. That's 2 design plan sets, 2 permits, 2 combiner boxes or inverters, 2 sets of interconnection documents. So just be mindful.
Yeah, as you said that, I'm thinking just one big solar system and then have it feed into the other meter that's on there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
just
you.
be sure to detail that in the project handoff notes and then babysit it on the back end since it's a little bit different than normal.
All right, cool. Thanks, Tom.
And work with interconnections at powur.com and the PM and let them know that it will be a net metering aggregate. Put the 2 meter numbers in the project handoff notes and just really spell out that request. I think our interconnections team can help facilitate that, but you definitely want to work with the utility to move that along. Is that right, Bill? It's partly on our interconnection, but it's you had to reach out to the utility as well to help initiate the NEMA with the homeowner?
Yeah, you can't leave it up to our interconnection because just they're not set up for that. So you have to be proactive in getting it all set up.
Very cool.
So reach out for early and often too. And they know what's her name? Caroline is our interconnection whiz, Caroline White. So you can reach out to her as far as that, and then coordinate with your PM and say, she can set it up. That would be the way to go.
Right. And do you or Tom know if that would potentially delay net metering 2.0? So if in Adam's duplex situation, can they get the 2.0?
They'll be able to do it. Yeah. You mean, would it delay the actual application? Okay. The extra part of the aggregation is doing a address. You're basically detailing the meters that are in the what do I call it, in the deal. So there's a term for that. I can't think of it right now, but that might slow down the processing of getting it to the right department. And
Right.
I would reach out to caroline.white@powur.com. I think is her
There's
email.
a few
I'll put in the
people,
chat.
There's a few people in interconnections department, Natalie Morris.
Yeah, Natalie's good too. But
And Wes is the manager of interconnections department now as well.
the only reason I mentioned Caroline is she's familiar with MA. So
Oh, great.
And then Bill, the question I have is if you have solar on the roof on the main house, can you set up aggregation later, like down the road? You know, like, does it have to be done at the time, or can you just call PG&E and say, hey, I have solar on my main home, but I have 2 meters and I would like to aggregate both of the meters into my solar system? Is that something that can be done?
Theoretically, yes. But well, first of all, are we talking about right now in advance of NEM 3.0?
I'm just talking about just in general, like,
in
you know,
general,
has
well,
that been the case?
I haven't seen that of an existing system being aggregated to it could be done. I mean, the rules would allow it to be done, but you wouldn't want to be considering it right now, because if you were to do it, that would put you in the new tariff, whatever that tariff is. So if you aggregate, you just it's just like adding more than 10% of your solar capacity is going to put you into the new, whatever the existing tariff is.
Really? Okay. Because you're not changing the system size. You're just adding an account or, you know, a meter onto.
No, you are changing the system size.
No, you aren't, because your system's not. I'm saying if you had
I see. If you want, you weren't going to add to it. Yeah, that's potentially doable, I think. And it'd be just worth the call to the respective utility to ask them specifically, can you adjust my billing in order to if you're overproducing enough for the second ADU or whatever to get it. I don't think you could do that in order to qualify for the ADU requirements. However, if you had existing solar, if that was your question, possibly.
Well, that was actually going to be my follow-up question. I was going to say, you didn't know if anybody knows, like, if you have solar on your main house, then you add an ADU, you know, just like you can add solar to the main property and that will qualify for it. Will the existing solar on the main home qualify to where you don't need to add solar on the ADU? Does anybody know the answer
Jared,
to that?
Think about this. Think about it. That it would totally violate the spirit of what they're trying to do. So no, they are not looking for existing solar to accommodate new building. You know, in this process, they're going to say, sorry, it's a new facility. You've already had solar. We need you with your new building to put on new solar. Now you can do it where you can put it on the main house.
Well, now think about this, okay? You have solar on your main home. You're all dialed in. You're locked into net metering 2.0. You want to build a little ADU or a little garage shed, whatever, in the back. And they say, okay, because of Title 24, you need to put solar on this property. Now, adding solar onto the new ADU after NEM 3.0, you're going to have to go 3.0 on that, and that would kick you off of 2.0, which would prevent you from even wanting to do that.
So what you'd have to do is get a separate service for it.
If I could stop real quick, I think we're getting off into the weeds. First of all, if there's solar on the property, I don't think they're going to make you put more solar if you're building an ADU. I haven't ran into that, but that's going to be my guess. So I just say, let's just stop the combo at that point. It's getting way off there. And if there's solar on the property, my guess is it satisfies the legal requirement, even if it's prior. Don't you, wouldn't you think?
I would hope so.
Yeah. What sucks is if a new build has to go solar with NEM 3, the buyback, it's going to be bad. So they're making people put a new solar on new builds moving forward with the NEM 3, which is kind of crappy. Yeah, it's AHJ specific. Thank you, Chris. And again, Chris and Nick and Bill here are all great tier 3 mentors that have done NEMA and many others as well. All right, cool. If someone is adding an ADU, they need a second meter so they don't get 3.0. Yeah, that's another way around it too. Like Tony said, you could just do it that way, but there's added cost to get a second meter with the utility.
Sure.
What did you put?
Times.
What did you put, Tom? The CPUC started talking about NEM 3 and NEMA.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it. It's just policy stuff from CalSA that I thought I'd throw in there for anybody that was following that. They're rolling out NEM 3 stuff for NEMA as well.
And that's a good point, Tom. Real quick, last thing is that isn't affected with this same date as is the rest, is the standard NEM 3.0. It's got a later date of
Yeah,
application.
they haven't, there's no April 14th cutoff for NEMA.
All right, so new construction, new homes. We shared the article document there in the chat. Follow those directions as well, or work with the tier 3, and then some lovely 2 meters ADU and net metering aggregate. Any questions on these two topics or anything related to these two topics? Even if you have a situation out there with a multi-unit or multi-meters you want to ask, feel free to raise your hand or come off of mute.
Hi, yes. I have a place that has a new building, so there's 2 buildings on the same property, same owner, 2 separate bills, same, the utility bills in the same name, but 2 different bills. The houses are right next to each other. The newer house has both meters on it and the main panel, and the old house has the sub panel. They don't have solar yet. That's an aggregate, right? Account.
It could be an aggregate. Let me think through that. So 2 homes adjacent to each other, you got 1 meter per home.
Yeah.
But the 2 meters are on one property and the main panel's on as well on that property, and there's a sub panel on the other.
Right. The big house is the main house, and the smaller 2-story is the new house just finished. They have about 5 months of bills,
Right.
and they're low. They don't really qualify for the new house.
So
What
if
was the utility?
Southern California Edison.
Okay. Okay.
So my quick answer is going to be if enough of the solar can go on the big house to offset both meters, then you
Yeah.
could do the net metering aggregate. That's
Yeah, it looks like it's I can get it with max bid of over 140%.
another idea would be to put you could put theoretically you could put 2 solar systems on the main house, right? Like 20 panels could be going to 1 meter and 10 panels could be going to another meter.
Oh, okay.
That's 2 sets of designs, 2 permits, 2, plan sets, everything, 2 interconnections, because you're doing 2 separate systems to corresponding meters. Okay, so that's another idea.
Okay,
then-
the sub panel to the meters, I'd say, is about 15 feet away. I mean, the sub panel to the
second.
main panel.
Right. So then the other idea would be if you could put solar also on the smaller house, and perhaps you could backfeed into the sub. And if you can't, you'd have to trench. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah, there'd be a little bit of concrete trenching and a little bit of dirt trenching. All right. Okay,
it's one property lot, right? They're not going to subdivide
yes,
the lot.
it's
like
one property block. It's under a trust, family trust, but the bills, the main guy of the trust, the bills are in the name of his, and he's also the head of the trust. And there's actually a third property that if this one goes well, they want to put solar on
Right.
too.
A lot of this
that's
is case by case, and you want to ask them what their goals are. Do you want to offset both? Is it really just the main? Like, what are your plans with these? Are you going to have a tenant in there? Do you want their name on that, or do you want to keep your name on that and charge them more for rent? So you really
it's
have
a
to
family
navigate.
member in there. All the houses are for family members.
Okay.
So it's
Cool.
a big family trust thing. So yeah,
Very
I
good.
think it'll work. Well, it qualifies for NEM 2.0?
If you can get it sold in the next 2 weeks, yeah, you probably could squeeze it in there.
Okay.
2-3 weeks. Mhm.
I'll tell him he needs, he can't wait anymore. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Good luck. All right. Any other questions out there on these topics? We'll hang out for the next few minutes, and then I know Jarrett had to head out to a big meeting. He's trying to recruit a big sales org, but then we'll hang out and just do open office hour Q&A. All topics are welcome. But any more questions on new builds, 2 meters, 2 buildings, ADUs, net metering aggregate? Don't be shy.
Hey, JB, I have an opportunity in San Diego right now. It was formerly a rental property, but the owners are moving into it. They don't have any previous bills. Size is 1,200 square feet. We don't have any usage in that building, but their previous usage was about 6,000 kilowatt hours.
Okay.
How would you size that one?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Nick. Size. So I'm going to put a video in the chat. You may have seen this shared before. Jarrett and I filmed it some time ago. It's some basic questions and basic math to help size that.
Okay.
So just to reiterate, you have a property, the owners are moving back into, therefore they don't have the 12 months of usage. You did say that the prior tenant was able to get a bill and that it was using 6,000 kilowatt hours a year.
Well, they didn't provide a bill, but they did say it was about 6,000 kilowatt hours.
Okay. Yeah, and that's good to know. Just, you know, on a pro tip here, I have a realtor that refers me business, and he wanted me to give his serious buyer a solar quote. And I said, well, I have no idea who your buyer is, but why don't you ask your seller if they can send you their recent Edison PDF, and I'll look at the current owner's usage to help me formulate my recommendation. And then you would ask the new buyer, hey, where did you move from? Maybe that usage, I can help you some of that calculation plus the prior owner. And now I'm going to ask you 20 questions, and now I'm going to help give you a recommendation. So I know that was a little detailed, but I do that very quickly. So just to your point, you know, it depends how close they are to the ocean in San Diego. They may not use as much air conditioning or heating because the weather's damn nice over there. You said it's how many square foot property? 1,200?
1,200. So I did it the multiplier times 5.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you multiply the square footage by 4, 5, or 6, depending on if there's a pool, you would have to add more on top of that for an electric vehicle if they're charging at home.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you're pretty much right on the money. Of course, depending on the roof space, their goals, where they're coming from, the prior tenant's usage, I would just factor all those things. And shoot, with NEM 2.0 right now, Nick, you know, you might as well get a crap load of solar while you have the opportunity, because you might get an electric car in the next 5 years. It's the future.
Well, that's what I told them. So we're good.
Yeah.
Thanks, JD.
Hallelujah. What's up, Joe? Timco, can we do solar on a rectory for a church? It is the house where the priest lives, separate meter from the church, electric service in the name of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. You want to do some holy solar, Joe? Just kidding. You could do it in like a cross. Just install the solar in a cross. So you want to get a copy of the electric bill, and you want to look at the rate plan. If the rate plan is residential, it is more likely that we'll be able to help them. If they're on a commercial time of use GS1, GS2, that's a commercial rate plan. So number one, great question. You always want to ask for a copy of the bill, and you want to see what rate plan they're on to see if it's residential or commercial. Number two, you want to try to get a picture of the electrical panel or electrical closet that's on site. That will very quickly tell you if this is a residential project or commercial project. And then one more thing to keep in mind is if the zoning or the land is zoned like commercial, our lenders may say, hey, hold up, we don't lend to commercial properties. They lend to businesses, right? But if the land sits on commercial, like that doesn't fall within our guidelines. So then you may have to pivot to cash if we can do it. So there's
Okay.
a few intricacies there. Did that help?
Yeah, it helped a lot.
Eric
Thank you.
Williams, holy solar power in the chat. Very, very funny. Quick with the draw there, Eric. Nice. All right. Jennifer, with SDG&E, does a homeowner have to provide anything extra with their interconnection application if they only have 7 months or so of usage? Good question, Jennifer. Pretty much the answer is no on that. You know, the utilities really have relaxed up under the net metering 2 guidelines. A lot of people ask, well, what's the maximum offset I can design to? And my answer is usually 200%. So 200% of someone's 12 months of usage is no problem. There used to be a load justification form to justify going beyond that, but honestly, I haven't seen any pushback from utilities in designing a big system. So that's just a general rule of thumb. And 7 months, yeah, Tony said just annualize it. So if you have 7 months, I think sometimes solo can average out the other months. Or if you're a good tier 3, you've looked at thousands of electric bills and you know that area and the age of the home and the AC usage, it's pretty easy to just kind of guesstimate the other 4 months, 5 months or whatnot for them and then design accordingly. And of course, always in California, Jennifer, right now, you always want to be 120% minimum to break even with the utility, guys. Please don't forget that in California, 120% minimum. That is not extra. You have to give them more energy to break even with the utility. And then that's when you say, okay, are you going to get an EV? Do you want to run the AC more? What else is coming? But always keep that in mind. Doug asked, no tax credit with the church, right? I believe that is right, Doug. It depends with their CPA and tax liability, because yeah, they don't fall under the same tax guidelines as other entities. So I think you might be right there, but I would defer to a tax professional. %30 cash back. And just as a general frame of reference, if anyone needs to head out, you know, we're going to just stick around for 20 more minutes doing question and answer office hour. Any topic whatsoever is welcome. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for today's training and we'll still do some Q&A, but if you have to hop off, I will see you all at the virtual convention this Friday and Saturday.